Welcome into episode 4 of Analyzing Attitude. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you give us a like and an oh hell yeah
Oh, hell yeah.
in the comments, and leave us a little bit of a comment on the show, what you thought about this week's episode of Raw, and we'll review it next week as well. Also, stick around till the end of the episode. We got a really big announcement about episode number 5, our very first pay-per-view in your house to Generation X. We're going to have a special third man. That's right, Mike. We have our own version of who's the third man this week. We'll tell you at the end of this episode. We won't Eric Bischoff you and actually give you a response by the end of the show. A little bit of a lull in the exciting action that we've had on Raw over the past couple of weeks. We talked about this last week, Mike. The Billy Gunn and the Road Dogg, not quite the New Age Outlaws yet. They win the tag titles off of the Legion of Doom a week ago. They open up the show tonight and tell us there's going to be a non-title contest with the Headbangers tonight. A little bit of a downswing from what we saw a week ago.
Oh, for sure. I mean, they had to come out and gloat and talk about how awesome they were on winning the matches. We got the Road Warriors doing a run-in, which I'm probably wrong, but to me, it was the first time I saw them without their face paint on, which was
very weird. Yeah, it wasn't good. Like Hawk, Animal's only 36 here. He looks 56 in this. Yeah. It wasn't a good look for him.
No, and I think that was their attempt to try to combat the realism that they're doing on the other channel, and I don't know if it fit here because later on they're in full makeup.
Well, you're taking away the pomp and circumstance. What makes them bigger than life and feel larger than life in that aspect. And it's wrestling, so once you say somebody's name, they must appear, and that's what happens here. But it just took all the nostalgia, not the nostalgia, all of the mystique that the Road Warriors / Legion of Doom had, threw it out the window. I hated this.
I did as well. It wasn't my cup of tea. It's like seeing Ultimate Warrior or Sting come out without their gear on. Those are the few characters that they should just always be looking like how they do.
And why would you humanize your larger than life characters? I don't understand why you would want to do that. Like the Undertaker wouldn't come out as Mark Calloway. I know he did a couple times during this era because he was pissed at the brass, but obviously that was Mark's decision, not necessarily the office's. This is clearly a WWF decision.
And with Mark, they try to incorporate that with storyline or sometimes questionable.
Yeah,
but this one
every time, by the way,
they try to be effective, and it just wasn't for me. And they do just keep hyping the crap out of the Road Warriors are coming back for revenge tonight. Tonight it's pretty much already a spoiler that.
Yeah, and Hawk and Animal grab the microphone, say as much that they're not done. They'll see the Outlaws later tonight. And they're not even scheduled to face each other. So I don't know why you wouldn't run a rematch back here, but we will get it at the pay-per-view. And tonight we'll get into the Headbangers matchup as a non-title matchup. Speaking of championships, though, we have the semifinals, the WWF's version of the Final Four to some degree, for the light heavyweight championship. And this was when we started doing this, Mike. This was actually the match that I remember the most. Up next, we have Taka Michinoku versus Aguila, who, when you think about what WCW was doing with their cruiserweight division at the time, these were two guys that would have very much fit that mold compared to what the WWF was trying to do with the light heavyweight division.
I agree 100%. They're the only ones that have actually really looked like they belong in the light heavyweight division. Aguila kind of reminded me, look wise anyways, of Psychosis when he had the mask on.
I was going to ask you that question. Yeah, absolutely.
And they had Sunny out again as the special ring announcer, which I get it. We're trying to get her on TV.
They did everything to crap on this tournament, though.
She sucked as a ring announcer.
Not even that. The 18 to 44-year-old demographic was too horny without the internet at this time to have her parade out there and not only focus on her the entire time. There's great action going on in the ring. We have Sunny chance just because she's sitting at ringside to sit at ringside so she can get a paycheck.
Yeah, pretty much. And they did what WCW did a lot, and not just the cruiserweight division, but the thing that I noticed, and it drove me nuts, even as a kid watching, they talk about segments that aren't even
where I was going
in the match. Like JR did a good job on just briefly doing it. Cornette chimed in more here and there, but it's like, let's talk about what's going on.
It's one thing to build up Rock and Austin. It's one thing to build up Triple H and Jim Neidhart, which is the main event tonight, by the way. But they're talking about the Four Corners match with LOD and the Nation of Domination that doesn't even matter that we're going to get in a few segments. Like they're talking about everything else. Like it's almost like they did this tournament with the anticipation of let's crap all over these small wrestlers because that's what the other competition is pushing, and let's make it feel lesser than the guys that we have at the end of the show.
Yeah, I don't care for it.
And this was a great match. It only went 4.5 minutes, but far and away the best match of the light heavyweight tournament up until this point.
Oh yeah, Aguila goes for a dive and springboards off the apron, lands on his feet, and then without missing a beat, here comes Taco with the springboard plancha, and it looked great. They worked with the little time they had. I enjoyed this match. By far my favorite of the tournament so far.
Probably the best match of the night, by the way, too. But Aguila hit that corkscrew moonsault that was incredible, too, and incredibly athletic and way before their time. But Taka moves on. He will be in the finals at D-Generation X in your house against the winner of Scott Taylor and Brian Christopher, which we were really excited about a week ago. We're going to get to that match here in a little bit. But next, the weirdness that is Goldust continues. And I remember clips of this happening, but I don't remember this being this in your face at the time. I mean, WWF was clearly going for the Howard Stern, Jerry Springer, Crash TV. How do we get as many eyes talking about what we're talking about? Goldust comes out in full BDSM gear here, full ball gag and nipple covers all in tail. And it was really interesting the angle that they take here because they start talking about his real life relationship with his father, Dusty Rhodes. In real life at this time, Dusty Rhodes, who plays Goldust, is not talking to Dusty Rhodes, and they have an estranged relationship. And he's legally going through a divorce at the time with the on-screen Marlena, who we now know as Terry Runnels. Mm-hmm. And Luna Vachon calls her a cum-sucking gold digger. 1997 television, folks.
I understand why my mom didn't want me to watch. But they really, they're with the attitude, they're really cranking up that knob on the attitude with this segment. It's not for me. I understand they're trying to really go out there, but geez,
I don't know who it was for. I like that's the other thing is like, who are you trying to get with this stuff? Because Goldust is walking around on all fours, barking like a dog, just really weird. Like, it was 3 minutes and probably 2.5 minutes too long. Like, I don't know what the point. And we're gonna talk about in the next episode what he does at the pay-per-view, which is almost as weird. It just doesn't get any better from here, folks.
Maybe in the next episode, maybe they were trying to appeal to the kids with Dr. Seuss, but we don't know. We'll see.
With this character, by the way. On to the next. I will call it a match. It's the Four Corners elimination match, and the ongoing force down your throat rivalry that doesn't even exist between the DOA, the Nation of Dominations, Los Boricuas, and the Truth Commission is now a Four Corners elimination match. And Nation comes out. They're going to be represented by D'Lo Brown, and The Rock is just getting hammered by the crowd. Rocky sucks chants everywhere. Miguel Perez comes out with Los Boricuas. He's only introduced as Miguel by Howard Finkel. And then Recon with the Truth Commission, his only match of the WWF, which is really weird because he might have been the highlight of this entire match. And then Shane's represents DOA.
Yep. Yeah, it was a clusterfuck of a match. We could have done without it. The only thing that I really had of note, because it was for a four-corner tag in when you can, with so much going on, which, by the way, aren't we done with the gang warfare? That was that Survivor Series. But Miguel is the hairiest I've seen since George the Animal Steel.
Not even close. Yeah, good call.
It's like that's all I could focus on. And
here's what I hate the most about this though, because as I just mentioned, Recon got some stuff in. He's legit 6'4" athletic guy, got his stuff in, looked really good, but we beat him.
Yeah,
and then we beat D'Lo Brown, and then we just have a smudge at the end without anybody even winning this match. So we kill off two guys for no apparent reason at all, just to have a big 12-man brawl at the end of the match that gets separated. What I did think was funny was Don Callis, who's the Jackal at this point, jumps on commentary, clearly tries sucking up to Jim Ross on the commentators table, and JR just kind of craps all over him.
Yeah, it's kind of a call to what we see now of Don Callis on commentary. He was doing good heel work. It's sucked that he got shackled with a terrible gimmick.
Well, and if you believe everything that's going on, like all the rumors and innuendo from podcasts and shoot interviews over there, he wasn't the most beloved person in WWF at this time either.
I think who he is, you see now on screen, is probably who he's always been behind the scene.
Probably rubs people the wrong way. Yeah,
it's entertaining, but I don't know. It didn't fit, and it just seemed like JR just wanted him the hell away.
As far away from it as possibly could be. We'll move on to the next match, and it's incredible that 1997. This is just a mid-card match. Rocky Maivia, aka The Rock, comes out and is taking on Vader. Rock still has the Intercontinental Championship around his waist. He has not won it from Stone Cold Steve Austin. That still is Austin's property, and the commentator team continues to let us know that. But the match is getting ready to get underway, and I can't believe that this happened. And I wonder how much that WWF probably had to pay for this to happen. Stone Cold Steve Austin comes into the arena with his black truck. This is the first time we've seen him do so. And he's blaring AC/DC Back in Black on the radio.
Yeah,
there's got to be some legal ramifications for private property and music rights and things like that. Because anytime, like for Cult of Personality for CM Punk, they've got to pay Living Color royalties, and I got to imagine AC/DC got that cash.
Yeah, at the time, probably. I know they didn't want to pay for it going forward. I do remember watching this episode a couple years ago on Peacock, and it's like crappy like waiting room music. And
it was playing over his car stereo,
right.
And I wonder if they were thinking that was a way to get around the legal loophole. Hey, we're not playing in the arena, it's just on the truck.
And Peacock must have realized that wasn't going to fly because it is not going on. We did get a cool couple little nuances that we hadn't seen before up to this point. It's the first time Stone Cold drove a truck or any kind of vehicle to the ring. That we'll obviously see down the road. And also first time he brings beer to the ring. And I don't know if USA was hesitant about it, but when he went to drink cut, they didn't show it.
Well, and a lot of that is even like on beer ads, you can't show them drinking until the last 12 seconds of the commercial either.
That's true.
So there's some legalities there, but obviously
that goes away eventually.
Well, and Steve polished off 4 of those bad boys for this very short match was over. But even though it was short, like I loved how much we talked about all the stuff they did wrong in the last match. They did almost everything right in this match, just trying to make The Rock look like $1 million. Vader goes for like a mid-rope splash. Rocky gives him a full-on power slam. He also power slams him later off his feet in this match. And this is at a time where we're making sure that hey, Vader's the mastodon. He's big, he's huge, he's the mastodon. We're hammering that home on commentary, and he made The Rock look like $1 million here.
Yeah, I totally forgot that he did that move to Vader. That was huge. Like I remember just tuning in to
that's how Ron Simmons beat him for the championship in WCW.
Right.
That's the move. Yeah.
And I remember tuning in to Nitro because I was begging to see Goldberg jackhammer the Giant. Yeah. It's always fun when you see that littler guy do a big ass move to a giant.
That little 6'4", 280-pound Dwayne Johnson.
Right. But I agree, they accomplished a lot in the little time they had. They even furthered the story with Vader and Goldust, which at this time I'm kind of tired of seeing Goldust. Still wasn't for me, but that story.
So we've talked about DQs and no contest, and we get another one here. The Nation jumps in real quick before we get to that. I thought it was really interesting. We're gonna hear Mark Henry at the pay-per-view talk about how he's rooting for Stone Cold Steve Austin. Vader is almost like fanboying for Austin in the background. Like he's trying to tell people to like cheer for Steve. I like. Clearly, the boys in the back see that meal ticket that's got the 316 shirt on.
And how could you not? It was a freight train that wasn't going to be stopped. And as we'll cover in 1998, it's all Stone Cold pretty much.
Well, we get 5 minutes. We get 5 minutes and 44 into this one before the Nation jumps in the ring. And to your point, Goldust comes down and attacks Vader, and then Vader runs off to chase Goldust down, and we get a no contest here, and really kind of a nothing burger out of this match, even though we did make The Rock look really, really strong in this one.
Yes, especially heading into the pay-per-view. It's the go-home show. You got to do your best to make everyone look as strong as possible going into that big money match. So
the next match is also a prequel to a go-home match. It's the other semifinals match of the light heavyweight championship. And it's supposed to be Brian Christopher versus Scott Taylor. This is obviously the eventual members of Too Cool. Scott Taylor comes out. Brian Christopher does not. The Undertaker's little brother appears. Kane comes out and absolutely destroys Scott Taylor. He takes 2 drop kicks, then a 4th drop kick off the top rope before the choke slam and a tombstone. And Paul Bearer grabs the mic and says Kane's destruction is going to continue if the Undertaker doesn't respond. And we're going to find out what's next for the Dead Man in the next match as well.
Yeah. I'll just call it the meat and potatoes of the week. Scott Taylor took a beating.
Yeah.
But it was it's already just kind of, I mean, it was good for the Kane Undertaker storyline, but you're not doing wonders already for your light heavyweight division when this is a semifinal match and you just,
it's already buried.
Yeah, we'll keep watching.
And then in the next match, we get the final arrival of Jeff Jarrett as he's set to take on Ahmed Johnson. The problem is Jeff Jarrett is still not happy with his accommodations being made by the WWF, and he refuses to wrestle Ahmed Johnson tonight, which leads to Sergeant Slaughter coming out and saying if Jeff Jarrett isn't going to take on Ahmed Johnson tonight, he'll have to face the Undertaker at In Your House to Generation X, which brings up the point. If Sergeant Slaughter could just make this happen at In Your House, shouldn't he just be able to make this match with Ahmed Johnson happen right now?
Oh, that's what I was going to say, Jamie. The writing's on the wall for Ahmed here.
Yeah.
Because not only did this match not happen, but he says, I'm going to get you a star-worthy person to face at In Your House Degeneration X, which...
So this is 14 months after he injured Ron Simmons, and This is 9 weeks removed from Ron Simmons absolutely mauling him on national television. Ahmed Johnson, I believe at this point, has 6 weeks left on his contract. Also, spoiler alert: he never appears in WWF again after his contract's up.
No, and we'll talk about somebody else on the show that makes their last appearance, at least as a full-time wrestler in the era. Oh, basically ever, but they at least make a cameo comeback. We never heard from Ahmed Johnson again when it comes to WWE.
Yeah.
And they very, very seldom even highlight him in any other videos or anything like that.
He did have that great run in WCW. If you don't know, don't bother looking it up. Up next is the tag team match between the Outlaws and the Headbangers. I thought this was really cool that they did this because this match happened 6 weeks prior for the first time when Billy and Dogg got put together as a tag team. So they're only as a tag team for 6 weeks at this point, and they've got the tag team championships put around their belt. And a little bit of what could have looked good for the Headbangers is a revenge match. In that match, Billy and Road Dogg smashed a boombox over their head.
They like doing that.
Yeah, which just happened the week prior with Kane, right? But again, just nothing. Like we were told what's going to happen in the opening segment. LOD comes out and like for some odd reason they get in the Headbangers face. So 2 weeks in a row we're just burying the Headbangers to bury the Headbangers.
And the commentary did not do a good job on giving us surprises. They were like, LOD's coming. LOD's coming. It's like, okay, so this is already nothing. And like you said, we had our second, third straight no contest match, or I guess this one's a DQ. Which I think
we need to get a counter going. We need to get our a new feature coming to Analyzing Attitude. We're gonna have a counter of how many DQs we had this week. So here's your number right here. Keep an eye on that because by the way, there's more to come. But in the next segment, we get a Mark Mero segment where we get maybe the worst news ever. We're getting Mark Mero versus Butterbean in a tough man competition at In Your House to Generation X. And I had forgot that this, like, we've been talking about this over the last couple weeks. Why are they doing this with Butterbean? I forgot that this match even happened, and for good reason.
Same. I thought the only match that Butterbean ever had was at WrestleMania, the finals or not the finals. It was just the Brawl for All winner facing Butterbean.
Yeah.
But they're trying to promote it because I forgot about it too. But Butterbean has a fight that same weekend, and I think they have Sable as the ring girl.
Yeah, hopefully
so
Rena got the double payday.
Right. So they're doing what they can. The only thing about this segment that I thought was interesting is that Mero is actually really good on the mic, and his character.
People forget how good he was as Johnny B. Bad.
Yeah,
I loved him as Johnny B. Bad in WCW.
Yeah, and like we'll eventually cover it down the road, but he was so good at what he was doing that there was plans on him doing a program with Stone Cold for the title.
Yep.
However, Stone Cold saw Sable powerbomb him and it was like, nah.
Yeah, just like we talk all the time about WCW's mismanaged of talent, but like think about how talented Dustin Reynolds is and what he's doing at this time. Think about how really good the Headbangers become and what they're doing at this time.
Yeah.
And obviously Mark has his injuries and things that added up that didn't equate to him being able to be the star, but that is way after he jobs out to his wife. But unfortunately, in this segment, we're continuing the domestic violence thing where Sable puts on boxing mitts with Butterbean's face on them, and Mark Mero is just hammering them. He knocks one off to the point she starts crying, and we are just continuing this trend heading into the pay-per-view.
Yeah, it's terrible acting on Sable's part. Sorry.
You're right, but like these are real life people that are married in real life, and the implications behind this. Like, I get it's a job and it's TV, but yeah, like even in 1997, not great.
Yeah, it's gross, but and maybe that's what Sable's thought was. Like, if you're okay with this, then I'll just go to a manlier man in Brock Lesnar.
Fair enough. And it doesn't get much more manly than that.
No.
On to the main event of the night. It's time for Jim Nightheart to get his comeuppance against D-Generation X after last week. That's not what happens. We only get 2 minutes and 30 seconds into this one where Sean goes up on the apron, distracts the referee. Chyna slides a chair into the ring. Helmsley knocks out Neidhart, and they basically just beat Jim Neidhart down again. Afterwards, Neidhart receives the pedigree on the chair. He gets WCW spray painted on his back, signifying that Neidhart is on his way to the other side. Instead of playing dead like they normally do on the other show, Jim Neidhart just pops up and clotheslines them down. Chyna comes in to help with the guys. They handcuff Neidhart to the rope, and they continue beating him down. Commissioner Slaughter finally runs down to try to save the day, but Sean Hunter beat him up as well. And then Ken Shamrock finally appears. Now we've gotten 2.5 shows in to even teasing the main event for the pay-per-view in HBK versus Shamrock, which happens here.
Yeah. I mean, earlier in the night, they had the DX promo where Sean's on a wheelchair and they do the fake leg. I've been training my ankle and everything, and he had sorry, got to say this because it plays into the glorious prick that is Shawn Michaels. Earlier, they had Sean had a lollipop in his mouth, pretty much calling Jim Neidhart a sucker. And then they get into the ring, like you said, finally advertising this championship match for a pay-per-view.
It's the first time they've been in the same ring together in 2.5 weeks. And they're the main event the following for the go home show after this. But Shamrock gets the upper hand here, and they go off the air with Shamrock having Sean in the ankle lock and Slaughter with the Cobra Clutch locked in, and Helmsley, and we slowly fade away. And that's the big selling point for D-Generation X's pay-per-view in your house, D-Generation X. And
I think I touched on it a couple weeks ago, but the lollipop in the mouth while he's in the ankle lock, that is just Sean being a prick.
Yeah, and I was trying to save that for the end of the show because
oh, sorry.
No, you're good. I'm glad you brought it up because that's where I was segueing to before we give our grades for the night. When we talk about everything going on in the show with the burying of the Headbangers and the light heavyweight championship and all the burial of all these talents, like I wonder how much of this is Sean not caring because we know what state of mind he's in at this point, versus the office saying, no, this is what we want you to do. We know him and Hunter were given the ability to go out and freelance a ton, but it kind of feels like a copy and paste of how we're treating all the rest of the show as well. For a company that's usually really good about building its start, like it feels like they're making The Rock and Austin feel as big as they possibly can.
Yes.
And this is way before that becomes the legacy that it is. We're not even to the Mr. McMahon character. By the way, we're about 3 episodes away and I can't wait for that. But no, we're 2 episodes away. I'm sorry. So it'll be the Raw after In Your House. But yeah, I just I was really disappointed with the way they handle it because we know how good that match between Sean and Ken ends up being too.
Yes, I mean, Sean's in the best shape that he's probably ever been. I think physically, maybe not mentally.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, it's kind of like a double-edged sword. Like they're running amok and they're really not getting anybody over other than themselves. But if you can like the one thing I noticed interesting about this episode, they're getting over with the fans as heels in 1997, which the only thing you could rival that to is NWO.
Yeah, same thing happened on the other channel, right? Yeah. So, it's really interesting to me that we know what happens, right? We know Shawn ends up getting hurt, but that's kind of the point of all this, right? Like, you're gonna bury all this talent. What happens if one of these guys goes down?
Right.
And it happens. So, and it could be the reason we see the pivot, because this era basically ends after next Sunday.
Yes. And I can't wait to cover it, because 1998 is a juicy year, and I can't wait to talk about it.
Well, let's get to it. It is the biggest news that has hit Analyzing Attitude, and it's a illustrious 4-episode lineage. We're going to tell you who the third man is. Go ahead and cue the NWO music. That's right. We have a special guest coming to Analyzing Attitude episode 5, the first pay-per-view we're recording. It's going to be D-Generation X in your house, and we're going to be joined by Brian Alvarez of the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Mike, we couldn't be more excited about this.
I agree. I've been listening to him, at least for myself, for the past 7-8 years. He got me through the shitty times that were 2018 through 2020. But his reviews of the shows have always been fun. He's also an independent wrestler who's been in the ring with people like the Rock and Roll Express. It'll be a good time. I can't wait to talk to Brian about his thoughts on this time period in wrestling.
Just a plethora of information. Yeah, we're going to get his thoughts. He's going to watch the whole pay-per-view along with us and break down, give us his thoughts. Mike, we'll go ahead and grade the episode. I don't think it's going to be very good for either one of us. I'll get us started. I'm going to give us a C- for this episode, and that's probably being a little gracious.
That's what I was gonna say, but then it was a go-home show, so yeah, D+ for me.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, not great at all, and it feels good that we know this is the end of the era, but in real time, you're kind of like, what are we doing at this point?
Right, especially after the hot weeks they just had coming off the Montreal Screwjob, which I've talked about it too much again.
This is the go-home show after the Montreal Screwjob, and this is what we got. It's just incredible that we hit this meteoric rise. We are 2 weeks away from a major announcement on Raw coming about who the special guest referee at WrestleMania might be as well. So things are about to start picking up, and we're going to get into some really, really fun episodes. But this has been Analyzing Attitude. I'm Jimmy Allen. That's the Dr. Mike Sweeney.
If you're not down with that, we got 2 words for you.
Like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.